Today's lesson is the force that keeps the universe together. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to continue talking about this mysterious force called gravity. And gravity, of course, is the force that keeps everything together in the universe, even though it's quite weak. And, of course, we also talked about the fact that your weight would be different on different planets because the force of gravity varies from planet to planet.
Absolutely. We've learned a little bit about gravity so far, but I think it's time to move on and check out a couple other interesting facts about gravity. The first one that we're going to be learning about today is probably something you're a little bit aware of, and it's something you will notice when you go down to the beach at different times of the day, different times of the year. You will notice things going on at the beach, things that change through the course of the day, and that's all thanks to gravity. Let's learn more.
It causes the tides. Why do our sea levels rise and fall each day? It actually comes down to the moon's gravity. Even though the moon is smaller than Earth, its gravity still affects Earth, causing Earth's water to collect on the side closest to it. As Earth spins, the part of the planet that's facing the moon experiences high tide.
大家好，第一部分我们可以看到片语 come down to， 它的意思是归结为点点点，或是终究取决于点点点。例如 Our success will come down to a lot of hard work and a little good luck. 我们的成功将归结于大量的辛苦工作和一点的好运。又或者说 The restaurant's success or failure comes down to whether it can turn a profit this year. 这家餐厅的成败取决于今年是否能获利。除此之外，介绍它的同义片语 boil down to, boil, B-O-I-L, boil down to. 例如 Due to the time limit, I suggest you boil down all of your research to a few key points when giving your presentation. 因为时间限制，我建议你在简报时将所有的研究归结成几个重点就好。
Okay, so the next fascinating fact regarding gravity is that it causes the tides. A tide is when the water comes in and when it goes out, especially if you're next to the ocean. I suppose there are tides in lakes and rivers to a very small degree, but we can't possibly see that because those bodies of water are pretty small. But if you're by the ocean, say here in Taiwan, and you're there at different times of the day or different times of the week or month, you'll notice that the level of the water changes depending on moon cycles and to a certain extent. So yes, indeed, it causes the tides. We have high tide and we have low tide. Now here's the question. Why do our sea levels rise and fall each day? We've heard this before. We've learned this in school, but if you've never been told this before and you spend some time by the ocean, you will probably be mystified why the water level keeps going up and keeps going down again.
That's true. You sometimes even see it in rivers. I believe the Danshui River here is a tidal river. I cross the river every day on a bus over a bridge, and of course I can look down and sometimes I see a lot of mud along the river banks because the river is at very low tide, and of course sometimes you go over and the water is right up touching the river banks. Looks like it might even go over the edges, and that might be a higher tide. Now what is going on there? Well, it actually comes down to the moon's gravity. It's the force of the moon pulling the water around on the surface of the Earth. Surprising, isn't it? It says even though the moon is smaller than Earth, its gravity still affects Earth, causing Earth's water to collect on the side closest to it. So as the moon spins around the Earth, as it does, as we know, it's actually kind of pulling the water. That's what it comes down to. When we talk about something coming down to something, that is why it happens. That is the source of this. That is the explanation for this. That is the root that we look for the answer in. That was where we looked the answer to. The moon, it's collecting on the side closest to it. So as the Earth spins, the part of the planet that's facing the moon experiences high tide. So there you go. If you're a surfer and you're looking at the tidal levels and the tides through the day, you're really looking at how the moon is acting on the water on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, but it actually comes down to the moon's gravity. The simple explanation has to do with the gravity of the moon. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to talk about another fascinating fact. Gravity affects your height. Let's listen.
Gravity affects your height. Measure your height in the morning and then again at night. You should find that you're a little shorter in the evening. This is because gravity has been acting on your spine all day, causing it to compress. Gravity's effect on height is most apparent in outer space, where the pull from Earth's gravity is very weak. As a result, astronauts grow around 5 centimeters after being in space for extended periods of time. Unfortunately, they shrink again after returning to Earth, thanks to the stronger gravity here.
第二部分我们介绍动词 compress， 它指的是使压缩、压紧或是缩短。例如 8 days of work had to be compressed into just 5 because of the tight deadline. 由于紧凑的截止期限，8天的工作必须被压缩成仅仅5天。下一个我们看到形容词 apparent， 它的意思是明显的、显而易见的。举例来说 After a closer look, the flaws in Dana's plan became more apparent. 在仔细看过之后 Dana 计划中的缺点变得更明显了。又或者说 Carla's apparent inability to meet the working standard makes her unsuitable for the job. Carla 明显的没有能力达到工作标准，这让她不适任这份工作。另外，在这个字的字尾加上 ly 就会变成副词 apparently， 它有显然的或是似乎的意思。例如 The cup apparently had a hole in it because there is water all over the table now. 那个杯子显然有一个洞，因为现在桌子上到处都是水。或是 The crying child is apparently upset that he can't have a cookie. 那位哭泣的小孩似乎对他不能吃到饼干而感到难过。
Okay, so that's the next interesting fact concerning gravity. Gravity affects your height. It has to do with how tall you are, especially during the course of a day, and maybe even during the course of your life.
Very interesting. And there's actually a way you can do this. It says measure your height in the morning and then again at night. If you want to see how gravity affects your height, try this little experiment. Measure your height in the morning. So assuming you're just getting up out of bed, you've been lying down for 7 or 8 hours. So get out of bed, measure your height in the morning, and then again at night at the end of your day after you've been standing and walking around all day before you go to bed, measure it again at night or in the evening. It says you should find that you're a little shorter in the evening. All right. So yeah, maybe if you spend your whole day walking around, gravity is actually pulling your bones closer together, pulling you down towards the ground, making you slightly shorter. Absolutely incredible.
Why is this? Well, this is because gravity has been acting on your spine all day, causing it to compress. Now, your spine is basically your backbone with all the different vertebrae there, and there's this soft substance between each vertebrae. And again, the gravity will kind of pull on your spine all day long as you're standing or as you're sitting in a chair, and that will cause it to compress. Now, here we've got the verb to compress, which means to press things together, to flatten something by using pressure. We could say it squeezes something or it presses something. Indeed, your spine will be compressed by gravity during the day.
Yes, it will. Gravity's effect on height is most apparent in outer space, where the pull from Earth's gravity is very weak, right? So if you really want to experience gravity, become an astronaut and go and spend a few weeks or months out in outer space. That's where the effect on height, or gravity's effect on height, is most apparent. When something is apparent, it's clear, it's obvious to be seen, it's easily understood, or something like that. That's the best way to see it, the best example to get of how gravity affects our height. Well, go to space. And because in space, the pull from Earth's gravity is very weak, right? So there's very little gravity in space. As we know, it's often called zero G or zero gravity. Maybe it's not exactly zero if you're in the International Space Station. You are close enough to Earth to get a very small force or a very small amount of gravity acting on you, but compared to living on the surface of the Earth, yes, the gravity in space is very weak, and that will be reflected in changes to an astronaut's physical shape and physical size.
Yep, the difference in height is most apparent, most clear, most obvious in outer space because the pull of Earth's gravity is very weak. And as a result, astronauts grow around 5 centimeters after being in space for extended periods of time. So yes, an astronaut, of course, is somebody who lives and works in space. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, they were famous astronauts who flew to the moon in 1969, I believe. And yes, indeed, if you're spending some time out there in outer space for a long enough period, you will grow around 5 centimeters. If you're out there for an extended period of time. Extended means a longer than normal period or measurement. So yes, for an extended period of time just means for a lengthy period of time. And that's kind of a warning to some of you who want to be astronauts, because I've heard that when astronauts grow those 5 centimeters, it pulls the nerves along with it, and that can be quite painful.
Ouch, I imagine that would be. And of course, that is only a temporary amount of growth. You won't be able to come back to the Earth and say, hey, I'm 5 centimeters taller now, because it says, unfortunately, they shrink again after returning to Earth, thanks to the stronger gravity here. So it would be kind of like, I guess, if you lay in bed all the time, you might measure yourself after 2 weeks of lying in bed and find that you're, much taller than you were. But if you stand up for 6 hours, that will disappear because gravity is back again. It's acting on your body again, pulling your vertebra, the bones in your back, closer together again. So these tall astronauts in space will come back to Earth, and within a few hours or days, they will be back to their normal size because gravity is back affecting their body.
So that's something to think about. You're not going to get any taller in life. You're probably going to get shorter as time goes on, but not terribly short, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our explanation for today. Let's move on now to the third part and wrap things up.
As you can see, gravity gives rise to some fascinating effects. However, many aspects of gravity still remain a mystery to scientists. Indeed, it's thought that unraveling gravity's secrets will vastly enlarge our understanding of how the universe works. For this reason, gravity is sure to remain an attractive topic for scientists for many years to come.
第三部分我们介绍名词 aspect， 它的意思是方面或是层面。例如 Christy posts nearly every aspect of her life on social media。Christy 几乎把她生活中的每个方面都发文在社交媒体上。又或者说 My favorite aspect of this artist's work is his attention to detail. 我最喜爱这位艺术家作品的一个面向是他对细节的注重。最后我们看到单字 vastly， 它是副词，指的是很大程度的、极大的或是非常。例如 Working fewer hours would vastly improve Evan's quality of life. 减少工作时间将大大改善 Evan 的生活品质。或是 This restaurant is vastly superior to the one we tried yesterday. 这家餐厅比我们昨天去的那家好非常多。
Okay, so as you can see, gravity gives rise to some fascinating effects. So here we've got the phrase to give rise to something. That just means it causes something to happen. And yes, indeed, because we have gravity, it can have all sorts of interesting effects. It affects the tides, and we also talked about the fact that gravity is surprisingly weak compared to other fundamental forces in the universe.
However, many aspects of gravity still remain a mystery to scientists. Yeah, there's a lot we don't know about gravity, probably a lot more that we don't know than what we do know, because, of course, it was only back in the 1700s that Isaac Newton came up with the concept of gravity, and it's really only in the last 100 years or so that we have modern sophisticated technology to actually measure gravity in any kind of real way. So there are many aspects. There are many parts of gravity. An aspect is basically a part of something, a way of looking at something. If we take a complicated topic like gravity, for example, and break it down into different interesting elements, different important parts, those are the different aspects of it. So any big complicated story in the news will have different aspects. There'll be an economic aspect, a political aspect, a social aspect, because a lot of things, affect things in many different ways. And those many different ways, or the different things that they affect, are different aspects of this big, complicated topic. In this case, the aspects of gravity, a lot of them still remain a mystery to scientists. We had the word mysterious earlier in the first part of the article. If something is mysterious, it's a problem or it's a question with no easy and clear, obvious answers. There might not actually be answers, or there might be hidden answers that will take a lot of time and energy to sort of discover, to uncover, to pick out. But basically, there's a lot about gravity that we still don't know about.
Yep, those aspects remain a mystery. We just don't know about them, and we need scientists to tell us all about them in the coming years. Indeed, it's thought that unraveling gravity's secrets will vastly enlarge our understanding of how the universe works. So here we've got the verb to unravel, which means to figure something out, to reveal the secrets of something. It could also refer to being undone. Maybe you're unraveled because you lost your job and you're a nervous wreck and you don't know what's going to happen in your future. But in this particular case, we want to unravel the secrets of gravity. We want to reveal those secrets.
That's right. And of course, when something needs to be unraveled, it's probably not going to be that easy. It's not going to be very, very simple to explain it just by looking at it for a few minutes. You're probably going to have to do a lot of work, a lot of research, maybe come back to it at a later time to learn more. So it's something they're really going to have to work at in very many ways for a very long time to discover gravity's secrets. But the hope is that once we do discover them or unravel gravity's secrets, we will vastly enlarge our understanding of how the universe works. Knowing everything that we can possibly know about gravity will have a lot of different benefits, a lot of different things, because as we said, there are many aspects of gravity. There are a lot of different ways that it affects us, from our height to the tides to the forces that are acting on planets and stars, all of that kind of stuff. So the more we learn, the more we will know. And if we really learn a lot, it will hugely or vastly. When we talk about something being vast, it's very large, often in terms of size or space or area or something like that. So we will have huge new understanding and be able to make huge new discoveries about physics and science the more we learn about gravity. And through that research and those discoveries and, improving our knowledge, we will enlarge our understanding. To enlarge something is to just make something larger, to make it bigger, to make it grow. So we will have a lot more information about how the universe works when we really understand how gravity works.
Yep, to enlarge. This, of course, reminds me of film photography. If you've ever taken pictures with film and if you've worked in the darkroom, you will use a device called an enlarger, which enlarges the image of the negative onto photographic paper below. Maybe you've seen people working in dark rooms before. But again, the meaning or definition of the word enlarge is to make something bigger, to increase the amount of something. So yes, indeed, we want to unravel those secrets of gravity to vastly enlarge our understanding of how the universe works. And if we have that information, it might help us with our star travel in the future. We might be able to travel to nearby stars and populate the planets there or make friends with the aliens there. Who knows? And for this reason, gravity is sure to remain an attractive topic for scientists for many years to come. Yes, indeed, gravity is a mysterious topic, along with sleep. I think scientists have still not been able to figure out exactly why we need to sleep every night.
Yeah, or dream or things like that.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our article for today. It's time now to listen to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分的第二句写到 Even though the moon is smaller than Earth, its gravity still affects Earth. 即使月亮比地球小， 它的引力还是会影响地球。那文中用到 even though， 它其实是 though 或是 although 的强调说法，表示即使、虽然、尽管。那它后面接的子句呢，是在描述确定的状况或者是已经发生的事实，强调某种情况虽然成立，但还是有此结果。那这边也要比较一下，如果是 even if， 它表示即使、就算。这听起来中文好像跟这个 even though 意思差不多。不过要注意啊 ，even if 是 if 的强调说法，它后面接的子句呢，是在描述某个条件或假设情况，这个情况不一定会成立。而 even if 是强调说，无论那个情况会不会成立，都不影响到结果。我们就来看一组例句会比较清楚。Even though it rained, we still had fun at the amusement park. 尽管下雨，我们还是在游乐园玩得很开心。那这时候下雨是已经发生的事实，我们是用 even though 来引导。Even if it rains tomorrow, we will still go to the amusement park. 就算明天下雨，我们还是会去游乐园。那明天不一定会下雨嘛，那这个情况不一定成立。所以这里我们是用 even if it rains tomorrow 来表达就算明天下雨，即使明天下雨怎么样怎么样。好，那么课文第二部分有一句他提到说，重力整天作用在你的脊椎上，导致它压缩。那文中用到动词 compress 来表达压缩，我们来学它的字首字根。好 press 这个字根就有挤压或是推的意思。那么在 compress 这个字当中，它的字首 com 表示完全或是一起。press 是挤压，把东西全部挤压在一起，应该可以联想到 compress 它有压缩压紧的意思了。好，那接着我们在 compress 后面加上 or 变成 compressor， 那就表示压缩机。再来补充两个有相同字根的单字哦。第一个是 depress， 它的字首 de 表示 down 往下，那么 press 表示压迫。同学们试着想，我们在背重物的时候，那个东西会把我们的身体往下压，让我们感到很沉重嘛。那同样的，如果有负面的情绪压着我们，心情就会很沮丧，让人意志消沉。所以呢 depress 这个动词可以用来表达使沮丧、消沉的意思。好，第二个补充的是 impress， 它的字首 im 是来自 in， 那这个字首它其实带有in 或是 into 或者是 on 的意思，可以表达在什么什么之中啊，进入或是在什么上方。那么 press 表示压，那我们去想一下，把某人或某事物重重的压进心里面，这样应该可以联想到 impress 它有使什么铭记，使什么留下印象的意思吧。好，那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾简单字吧。
Spine.The patient's spine was broken in the car accident. Apparent. Martha's friendliness was apparent to everyone who met her. Astronaut. The young boy dreamed of becoming an astronaut and exploring the mysteries of the universe. Extended. The extended heat wave has caused record-high temperatures. Aspect. Effective time management is an important aspect of being a self-disciplined student. Vastly.The internet has vastly improved our ability to communicate with people around the world. Enlarge. The construction company plans to enlarge the building by adding another floor.
Discussion starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. The question is, which fact about gravity did you find most interesting and why?
I'd say I was most interested to learn that gravity is surprisingly weak, since you think of gravity as being something that holds everything on the surface of the Earth, it holds planets together. But yeah, when you think about the different way it acts on different objects, it does seem kind of not what you would expect, right? Why do birds fly very easily, but if I drop something, it goes straight down towards the ground? Or, why can I throw a frisbee quite a long distance or throw a baseball a long distance, distance, but the moon and the earth spin around the sun with no effect on them at all, and it's all because of gravity.
Well, to me, that gravity affects someone's height was the fact I found most interesting, because I thought there wouldn't be really that much of an effect on someone's height if they were up in space for a while. I thought they'd be pretty much the same height. It turns out they can grow about 5 centimeters more in height if they spend extended periods of time in space, but when they return to the Earth, they get short again.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.